The downtown plaza was alive with Saturday shoppers when Officer Marcus Webb noticed his German Shepherd behaving strangely. Atlas had frozen mid-step, nostrils flaring at something Marcus couldn't see. The dog's ears pinned back against his skull. His tail went rigid. Then Atlas lunged toward a woman pushing an oversized stroller through the crowd. What Atlas discovered inside that stroller would trigger a multi-state manhunt and expose a trafficking network that had operated unseen for 7 years. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The morning had started like any other for Marcus Webb. He woke at 5:30 to the sound of Atlas shifting on the floor beside his bed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. It had been that way for 18 months now, ever since Sarah passed. The silence pressed against him like a physical weight. Marcus pulled on his uniform in the dark. He didn't need light anymore. Every movement was muscle memory. Shirt, badge, belt, vest. Atlas watched from the doorway, patient and knowing. The dog understood his silence better than any human could. They drove to the precinct as dawn broke over Phoenix. Desert heat already shimmered on the asphalt. Marcus rolled down the window. Atlas stuck his nose into the rushing air. His ears flapped in the wind. For a moment, Marcus almost smiled. The Phoenix Police Department K-9 unit occupied the north wing of the building. Marcus parked in his usual spot. Atlas jumped out before Marcus could open the door. They walked across the lot together. Radio chatter crackled from nearby patrol cars. Officers called greetings. Marcus nodded back. He didn't trust his voice in the mornings. Inside, Captain Diaz was already reviewing assignments. She looked up when Marcus entered. Her expression softened slightly. Everyone at the precinct knew his story. They treated him with careful kindness that made him feel fragile. Captain Diaz handed him a printed schedule. Downtown Spring Festival. Crowd control and patrol. Easy duty. Marcus nodded. Atlas sat at attention beside him. "You good with this, Webb?" Captain Diaz asked. "Yes, ma'am. Take it easy today. Just keep visible." Let people pet Atlas. Good community relations. Marcus left her office with the assignment sheet crumpled in his fist. He didn't want easy duty. He didn't want people asking to pet his dog while they took selfies. But he didn't argue. Arguing required energy he didn't have. The training yard behind the precinct was empty. Marcus ran Atlas through basic drills anyway. Sit, stay, heel, search. Atlas performed flawlessly. He always did. Sarah had chosen him from the shelter during her final months. She'd been too weak to train him herself, but she'd watched Marcus do it from the porch, wrapped in blankets, even in the Arizona heat. "He has kind eyes," Sarah had said. "He'll take care of you." Marcus pushed the memory away. He couldn't afford to think about her today. Not today. By 9 o'clock, they were downtown. The Spring Festival stretched across 4 city blocks. Vendor tents lined the streets selling handmade jewelry, roasted corn, tie-dyed shirts. A stage at the center featured a local band playing covers. Families wandered between booths. Children ran in packs, faces painted like butterflies and tigers. Marcus walked the perimeter with Atlas at his side. The dog drew attention immediately. People stopped to admire him, asked questions. Marcus gave short answers. "Yes, he's a German Shepherd, 5 years old. Yes. You can pet him if he sits first." Atlas tolerated the attention with professional dignity. But Marcus could feel the dog's focus elsewhere. Atlas scanned the crowd constantly. His training never switched off. The morning stretched into afternoon. The sun climbed higher. Marcus bought a bottle of water and poured half into a collapsible bowl for Atlas. They rested in the shade of a cottonwood tree. Marcus's radio buzzed with routine traffic. Lost child reunited with parents at the information booth. Minor fender bender on the north lot. Everything calm. Marcus leaned against the tree trunk. Atlas lay at his feet, panting lightly. The dog's ribs expanded and contracted with each breath. Marcus watched the rhythm. It steadied something inside him. Sarah used to say that Atlas wasn't just any shelter dog. There was something about him she couldn't explain. An intelligence in his eyes that went deeper than training. Marcus had dismissed it as her illness talking. But now, watching Atlas survey the festival with absolute focus. He wondered. The dog had appeared on the shelter's intake list with no history, no microchip, no collar. Found wandering along Interstate 40 near the New Mexico border. The shelter estimated his age at 3 years. They called him a stray, but his behavior suggested otherwise. He responded to commands he'd never been taught. He moved with military precision. Addition, Sarah had known immediately. This one, she'd said, he needs us. Marcus checked his watch. 2 hours left on his shift. He stood, brushing dust from his uniform. Atlas rose instantly, shaking out his coat. They resumed their patrol. The crowd had thickened. Music pounded from the main stage. The smell of grilled meat and sugar drifted on the hot air. Marcus navigated through clusters of families, keeping Atlas close. The dog's shoulders brushed against his leg with every step. Then Atlas stopped. Marcus felt it before he saw it. The dog's entire body shifted, muscles tensed beneath his fur. His nostrils flared wide, pulling in scent. His ears rotated forward, locked on something ahead. Atlas, Marcus said quietly. The dog didn't respond. His focus was absolute. Marcus followed his gaze across the crowd. Dozens of people moved between vendor booths. Nothing appeared unusual, but Atlas began to pull against the leash, not frantically, deliberately, with purpose. Marcus tightened his grip. "What is it, boy?" Atlas strained forward. His eyes tracked something Marcus couldn't identify. Then Marcus saw her, a woman in her mid-30s moving quickly through the crowd. She wore oversized sunglasses, despite the shade from vendor tents. She pushed a stroller ahead of her, a large stroller, bigger than necessary. She was moving too fast, weaving between people with urgency that didn't match the casual atmosphere. Marcus's training kicked in. Something felt wrong. Atlas pulled harder now. A low rumble built in his chest. Marcus had never heard him make that sound before. The woman glanced back over her shoulder. Her gaze swept across the crowd. When her eyes landed on Marcus and Atlas, she flinched, just slightly. Then she accelerated. Marcus keyed his radio. "This is Unit 7. I've got a possible situation near the South Food Court. Stand by." He started after her. Atlas surged ahead, pulling him forward. The woman pushed the stroller faster now, bumping past families who shouted complaints. Marcus broke into a jog. "Ma'am," he called out. "Phoenix PD, can you stop for a moment?" She didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. She cut hard to the left, heading toward the parking area beyond the festival boundary. Atlas barked, sharp and commanding. People scattered. Marcus released some slack in the leash, letting Atlas lead. The dog knew something. Marcus trusted that instinct more than his own. "Ma'am, stop now." The woman looked back again. This time, Marcus saw fear in her face. Real fear. She abandoned the stroller suddenly, leaving it rolling forward as she sprinted toward the parking lot. Atlas didn't follow her. Instead, he lunged toward the abandoned stroller. Marcus tried to pull him back, but the dog's momentum was too strong. Atlas's front paws hit the stroller's edge. The weight shifted. The stroller tipped sideways, and that's when everything tumbled out. The stroller hit the pavement hard. Its contents spilled across the concrete in a cascade of plastic-wrapped packages. Not a baby, not toys or diaper bags. Bundles wrapped in printed plastic that mimicked baby products. Each one the size of a brick. Marcus's heart stopped. He'd seen packages like this before. Too many times. The woman was already running. She disappeared between parked cars in seconds. But Marcus barely noticed, his attention fixed on the stroller's wreckage, on what lay scattered at his feet. Atlas barked again, sharp and urgent. Then 3 more people burst from the crowd. 2 men and another woman. They'd been watching, waiting. Now they scattered in different directions like roaches when a light switches on. Marcus keyed his radio. "Officer needs assistance. Downtown Plaza. South parking area. Multiple suspects fleeing on foot. Possible narcotics." His voice came out steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Atlas strained toward the fleeing suspects, but Marcus held firm. "Secure the scene first." That was protocol. Backup arrived within 90 seconds. 2 patrol units screamed into the parking lot, sirens wailing. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. Marcus pointed toward the directions the suspects had fled. 2 officers took off after the woman. 2 more went after the men. Marcus knelt beside the scattered packages, He didn't touch them. Didn't need to. The smell alone told him enough. Chemical, sharp, methamphetamine. Atlas circled the debris, nose working, but his attention kept returning to the overturned stroller itself. He pawed at the fabric lining, whined, looked up at Marcus with eyes that demanded attention. "What is it, boy?" Atlas pawed harder. The fabric tore slightly. Something white showed beneath. Marcus pulled on latex gloves from his belt and carefully lifted the torn section. A photograph, wedged between the stroller's inner lining and outer shell. Someone had hidden it there deliberately. Marcus pulled it free. The photo showed a young girl, maybe 6 years old, dark hair pulled into two braids, brown eyes wide with an expression Marcus had seen too many times in his career. Terror. The kind that leaves permanent marks. The girl sat on a bare mattress in a room with concrete walls. Her hands rested in her lap. She wore a pink dress that had seen better days. But it was her eyes that held Marcus. They stared directly at the camera with a plea so desperate it made his chest ache. He turned the photo over. On the back, written in a child's uncertain handwriting, was an address, 2847 Industrial Way. Marcus bagged the photograph as evidence. His hands shook slightly. Atlas sat beside him now, pressed against his leg. The dog's warmth anchored him. More officers arrived. Crime scene tape went up around the stroller. A detective Marcus recognized from Major Crimes knelt beside the packages, examining them without touching. "How much you think?" the detective asked. Marcus shook his head. £50 maybe, could be more. The detective whistled low. "That's not street level, that's distribution." Radio chatter crackled. 2 suspects in custody, 1 male still at large. The woman who'd abandoned the stroller was caught 4 blocks away, cuffed and screaming threats at the arresting officers. Marcus watched them bring her in. She was younger up close, early 30s maybe, track marks visible on her forearms. But her eyes held calculation, not desperation. She knew exactly what she'd been doing. The detective stood, brushing dust from his knees. "Good catch, Webb. Your dog's got one hell of a nose." Marcus looked down at Atlas. The dog hadn't moved from his position beside the stroller. His focus remained absolute. This wasn't normal alert behavior. Atlas had been trained for basic patrol work, not narcotics detection. Yet he'd reacted with the certainty of a specialist. Something unspoken passed between them. Marcus had felt it before, in small moments over the past 18 months. A connection that went deeper than handler and canine. Atlas understood things Marcus hadn't taught him. They transported the evidence back to the precinct. Marcus rode in the front seat of his patrol car, with Atlas in the back. The dog watched the evidence bags through the cage partition, didn't take his eyes off them once. At the station, the booking area buzzed with activity. The 2 arrested suspects were processed through. Both refused to speak without lawyers. They sat in holding cells with expressions of practiced boredom. This wasn't their first arrest. Marcus filed his incident report in the squad room. His fingers moved across the keyboard mechanically. Subject fled on foot. Canine unit alerted to suspicious behavior. Stroller contents revealed approximately 50 pounds of suspected methamphetamine. Suspects in custody, 1 outstanding. He attached the photograph to the evidence log. The girl's face stared up at him from his computer screen. Who was she? Why had someone hidden her photo in a stroller full of drunks? Captain Diaz appeared at his shoulder. "Hell of a bust, Webb." "Yes, ma'am. Your dog did good today." Marcus nodded. Atlas sat at his feet, but the dog's attention remained fixed on the evidence room door down the hall. He shifted his weight, whined softly. "What's wrong with him?" Captain Diaz asked. "I don't know." But Marcus did know, or at least suspected. Atlas wasn't done. Whatever instinct had driven him to that stroller, it hadn't been satisfied. The dog sensed something Marcus couldn't yet see. Captain Diaz squeezed his shoulder. "Go home. Get some rest. We'll process the suspects tomorrow." Marcus gathered his things. Atlas followed him to the locker room. While Marcus changed out of his uniform, the dog paced, back and forth across the tile floor. His nails clicked rhythmically. They walked to the parking lot as evening settled over Phoenix. The sky burned orange and purple. Heat radiated from the asphalt in shimmering waves. Marcus opened the car door. Atlas jumped into the back seat without prompting. As Marcus started the engine, his phone buzzed. A text from the detective assigned to the case. Captain wants briefing tomorrow, 0800. DEA involved. This is bigger than we thought. Marcus set the phone down. His hands gripped the steering wheel. Bigger than they thought. Of course it was. It always was. Drugs meant cartels. Cartels meant violence. And that photograph meant something much worse than simple trafficking. He looked in the rearview mirror. Atlas stared back at him with those knowing eyes. Sarah had been right. There was something about this dog, something Marcus was only beginning to understand. The drive home took 20 minutes. Marcus lived in a small house on the east side. 1 story, 2 bedrooms, a yard that had gone brown from neglect. Sarah's garden had died the winter after she passed. Marcus hadn't replanted it. Inside, the house felt empty despite Atlas's presence. Marcus fed the dog, then stood at the kitchen counter eating cold leftover pizza. He couldn't stop thinking. Thinking about the photograph, about the girl's eyes. His laptop sat on the coffee table. Marcus opened it and logged into the police database. He entered the address from the back of the photo. 2847 Industrial Way. The property record loaded. An old warehouse in the industrial district near the rail yards. Last sale recorded 12 years ago to a holding company that had dissolved 5 years later. Current ownership listed as unknown. Property taxes delinquent. Marcus pulled up Street View. The warehouse looked abandoned. Broken windows, graffiti on the concrete walls. Chain-link fence sagging around the perimeter. Exactly the kind of place people wanted to forget existed. Atlas appeared at his side. The dog rested his chin on Marcus's knee. His eyes reflected the laptop's glow. You know something about this, don't you, boy? Atlas's tail thumped once against the floor. Marcus closed the laptop. Tomorrow he'd brief Captain Diaz and the DEA. They'd put together a proper investigation. Search warrants, surveillance, everything by the book. But tonight, in the quiet of his empty house, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. That girl in the photograph wasn't posing for a family portrait. She was leaving evidence, a breadcrumb trail for someone to follow, and Atlas had found it. The briefing room was packed by 8 the next morning. Captain Diaz stood at the front beside a woman Marcus didn't recognize. Dark suit, federal badge clipped to her belt. DEA without question. The woman introduced herself as Special Agent Elena Cortez. She pulled up images on the projector screen. The stroller, the packages, close-ups of the wrapping that mimicked baby products. This is sophisticated, Agent Cortez began. Not street-level operation. The packages were designed to pass casual inspection. Soccer mom with a stroller doesn't draw attention. She clicked to the next slide. A map with red pins scattered across the Southwest. Phoenix, Tucson, Albuquerque, El Paso, San Diego. We've been tracking a distribution network for 18 months. Sinaloa Pipeline. They move product through seemingly legitimate channels. Families, church groups, school buses. They hide in plain sight. Marcus sat forward. The photograph? Agent Cortez's expression tightened. That's where this gets complicated. She pulled up a scan of the photo Marcus had found. The girl's face filled the screen. Her terrified eyes stared out at the assembled officers. We ran facial recognition. No hits in missing persons databases. No Amber Alerts match. Whoever she is, nobody's reported her missing. The room fell silent. Marcus felt his chest constrict. A child that invisible meant something worse than simple kidnapping. The address on the back? Marcus asked. We're obtaining a warrant now. Should have it by noon. Captain Diaz has volunteered your unit for entry team. Marcus nodded. Atlas sat beside his chair, calm and attentive. Several officers had commented on the dog's unusual stillness. Canines typically fidgeted during long briefings. Atlas might have been carved from stone. The briefing lasted another 20 minutes. Logistics, backup protocols, rules of engagement. Marcus absorbed it mechanically. His mind was already at that warehouse, imagining what they might find. When the meeting ended, Marcus returned to his desk. He had 4 hours before the warrant came through. He spent them reviewing case files, looking for patterns. Other busts involving children, other strollers, other photographs. He found 3 possibles, 2 in Tucson, 1 in Albuquerque, all within the past 2 years. All involved narcotics hidden in baby equipment, but none had included photographs of children. Atlas lay under the desk, but his eyes tracked every person who passed. The dog hadn't relaxed since yesterday. His body remained coiled, ready. Marcus reached down and scratched behind his ears. "You're worried, aren't you, boy?" Atlas's tail thumped once, but his gaze didn't waver from the hallway. At 11:30, Marcus's phone buzzed. "Captain Diaz, warrant approved. Gear up." The drive to the industrial district took 15 minutes. 3 patrol units, 1 SWAT van, and Agent Cortez in an unmarked sedan. They parked 2 blocks from the target and approached on foot. The warehouse looked worse in person than in street view. Decades of neglect had reduced it to a skeleton. Broken windows gaped like missing teeth. The roof sagged in the middle. Graffiti covered every surface in layers of overlapping tags. The chain-link fence had been cut in multiple places. "Fresh cuts," Marcus noted. Someone had been here recently. SWAT took point. They moved with practiced silence, weapons ready. Marcus followed with Atlas. The dog pulled slightly against his leash, nose working the air. The front entrance was a rusted roll-up door. Padlocked, but the hasp was loose. One of the SWAT officers cut it with bolt cutters. The lock clattered to the concrete. They rolled. The door up slowly. The screech of metal on metal echoed through the empty space. Inside was darkness. Flashlight beams cut through the gloom, revealing an enormous empty room. Concrete floor littered with debris. Old pallets, broken bottles, pigeon droppings. "Clear," the SWAT leader called. They spread out, clearing corners and side rooms. Everything appeared abandoned. Marcus was about to suggest they wasted the trip when Atlas pulled hard to the right. The dog had found something. He strained toward the back wall where a metal door stood partially open. Marcus followed, his heart rate climbing. The door led to a stairwell going down, basement access. The stairs disappeared into shadow. Atlas descended without hesitation. Marcus followed, flashlight in one hand, leash in the other. The air grew cooler as they went down. It smelled of mold and something else, something chemical. The basement was smaller than the main floor, but unlike upstairs, it showed signs of recent occupation. 6 sleeping mats arranged in a row, blankets folded at the foot of each one. A plastic bin filled with packaged food, juice boxes, crackers, nothing perishable. Marcus's light swept across the walls. Children's drawings covered the concrete, dozens of them, crayon on paper taped up like a gallery. He stepped closer. The drawings depicted the same themes over and over. Dogs, police cars, people crying, stick figures holding hands. One drawing showed a German shepherd with a collar that had a star on it. Marcus felt ice slide down his spine. Atlas sat beside him, staring at that particular drawing. The dog's tail was tucked tight against his body. "Webb, get up here," Agent Cortez called from the stairs. Marcus climbed back up, Atlas close behind. The team had gathered near a vent in the far corner. One of the officers held up a USB drive. "Found it wedged in there," the officer said. "Hidden, but not well." Agent Cortez bagged it immediately. "We'll need to analyze this at the field office. Could be encrypted." Marcus looked around the basement again. "How many kids, you think?" Agent Cortez studied the sleeping mats. 6, based on the setup. Maybe more in rotation. And they're gone now. Moved. Probably within the last 48 hours. Food supplies are still fresh. Marcus felt frustration building in his chest. They were always one step behind. The traffickers moved like smoke, impossible to pin down. Back at the precinct, the tech team worked on the USB drive. It wasn't encrypted. Within an hour, they had the contents loaded on a secure computer. Agent Cortez called Marcus into the conference room. Captain Diaz was already there, her face grin. The screen showed a video player. Agent Cortez hit play. The footage was poor quality. Recorded on a phone, probably. It showed the interior of a van. 6 children sat on bench seats, their hands zip-tied in front of them, all between ages 5 and 9. 3 boys, 3 girls. The girl from the photograph sat in the back row. Her braids were gone. Her hair hung loose around her face, but her eyes were unmistakable. The video showed someone passing out bottles of water. The children drank mechanically, without speaking. No one cried. That was the worst part. They'd learned not to cry. The video ended. Agent Cortez played another, then another. 7 videos total, different locations, different vehicles, but the same children appeared in each one. The most recent video was time-stamped 36 hours ago. Marcus leaned forward, studying the background. Through the van's window, he could see a gas station sign, pump numbers visible. "Can you enhance that?" he asked. The tech officer zoomed in. The image pixelated, but remained readable. Pump 7, and on the sign behind it, partially visible, white letters on blue. "Interstate marker. That's I-10, Marcus said. Eastbound." Agent Cortez nodded slowly. "El Paso. They're moving them to the border." Marcus checked his watch. 36 hours ago. If they drove straight through, they could already be there. Captain Diaz stood. "I'll contact El Paso PD. Get Border Patrol involved." Marcus stood too. "I want to go." Captain Diaz turned. "Webb, this is federal now. DEA will handle it." "With respect, ma'am." Atlas found the stroller. He found the photograph. "He led us to the warehouse. He's part of this." Agent Cortez studied Marcus for a long moment. Then she looked at Atlas. The dog sat perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the frozen image of the girl on the screen. "Your dog reacted to the photograph yesterday," Agent Cortez said. "Not to the drugs, to the photo." "Yes, ma'am. That's not normal detection behavior." "No, ma'am, it's not." The room fell silent. Captain Diaz exchanged a look with Agent Cortez. Some wordless communication passed between them. Finally, Captain Diaz sighed. "You can ride along, but DEA takes lead. You follow their protocols. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." Marcus left the conference room with Atlas at his heel. His hands were shaking slightly. He clenched them into fists. 36 hours. The girl had been in that van 36 hours ago. He thought of Sarah, of the garden that had died, of all the empty spaces in his life that he'd stopped trying to fill. But this wasn't empty space. This was a child who'd left a breadcrumb trail, hoping someone would follow. And Atlas had found it. Marcus knelt beside the dog. Atlas looked at him with those knowing eyes. The same eyes Sarah had commented on 18 months ago. "We're going to find her," Marcus whispered. "I promise." Atlas leaned forward and pressed his nose against Marcus's chest. Just for a moment. Then he sat back, ready. They had a long drive ahead. The convoy left Phoenix at 2 in the afternoon. 3 vehicles heading east on Interstate 10. Agent Cortez drove the lead car with 2 other federal agents. Marcus followed in his patrol unit with Atlas. 2 more DEA vehicles brought up the rear. The desert stretched endlessly on both sides of the highway. Brown earth and scrub brush beneath a sky bleached white by the sun. Heat shimmered off the asphalt in waves. Marcus kept his speed steady at 80, maintaining formation. Atlas rode in the passenger seat this time, his harness clipped to the seatbelt anchor. The dog stared out the windshield with unwavering focus. His ears rotated at every passing vehicle, categorizing threats. Marcus's radio crackled. Cortez's voice came through. "El Paso PD has units positioned at 3 known trafficking checkpoints. Border Patrol is monitoring crossings. If they're still in the area, we'll find them." "Copy that," Marcus replied. But doubt gnawed him. 36 hours was an eternity in this world. The van could have crossed into Mexico already. Its children could be scattered across a dozen locations. The girl from the photograph could be beyond their reach. He glanced at Atlas. The dog sensed his thoughts somehow, toned his head and met Marcus's eyes. Something in that gaze steadied him, a certainty that transcended logic. They drove in silence for an hour. The landscape barely changed. Same endless desert. Same brutal sun. Marcus's thoughts drifted to Sarah, despite his best efforts to keep them contained. She'd been gone 18 months now. The cancer had taken her piece by piece until there was nothing left but pain and morphine dreams. In her final days, she'd talked about Atlas constantly, about how the dog had found her at just the right moment. "He was waiting for me," she'd said, her voice thin as paper. "At the shelter. Like he knew I was coming." Marcus had chalked it up to medication and wishful thinking. But now, driving across the desert with the dog beside him, he wondered if Sarah had seen something he'd missed. His phone rang. "Captain Diaz. Webb, we've got movement." El Paso units spotted a white van matching the description at a truck stop near the state line. 2 adults, couldn't confirm children. Vans parked, but engines running. Marcus's pulse jumped. Location? Sending coordinates now. Agent Cortez is rerouting. You're 40 minutes out. Copy. Marcus ended the call. His phone buzzed with the coordinates. He pulled them up on his GPS. Exit 32, Love's travel stop. He pressed the accelerator. The speedometer climbed to 90. Atlas stood on the seat, bracing against the dashboard. His body vibrated with tension. A low whine built in his throat. "I know, buddy," Marcus said. "We're going." The 40-minute drive took 32. Marcus pushed the patrol car as hard as he dared, weaving between slower traffic. The convoy stayed tight behind him. Agent Cortez didn't object to his speed. The truck stop appeared on the horizon. A sprawling complex of fuel pumps, a restaurant, and a parking area filled with 18-wheelers. Marcus took the exit too fast, tires squealing. He spotted the white van immediately, parked at the far edge of the lot, away from other vehicles. Engine running, exhaust visible in the heat. 2 figures in the front seats. Marcus keyed his radio. "I've got visual on the target vehicle." "Hold position," Agent Cortez ordered. "We're setting up a perimeter." The DEA vehicles spread out, blocking exit routes. Local El Paso units arrived, lights off, but ready. Within 3 minutes, they had the van surrounded. Agent Cortez approached on foot with 4 other agents. Marcus stayed in his car as ordered, but every muscle in his body screamed to move. Atlas pawed at the door, whining. "Easy," Marcus said. "Not yet." Through his windshield, he watched Agent Cortez reach the van. She knocked on the driver's window. The figure inside jerked, startled. The window came down slowly. Marcus couldn't hear the conversation from his position, but he saw the driver's hands go up, saw the passenger door open, and a woman step out, also raising her hands. Both were pulled from the van and cuffed. Agent Cortez moved to the van's rear doors. She paused there, her hand on the handle. Even from 50 feet away, Marcus could see her brace herself. She pulled the door open, then she stepped back, reached for her radio. Her voice came through Marcus's speaker, tight with controlled emotion. "We've got 6 minors, alive, requesting medical immediately." Marcus closed his eyes. Relief hit him like a physical blow. 6 children, the same number from the videos. They'd found them. Agent Cortez waved him forward. Marcus released Atlas from his harness, and they approached together. The dog pulled hard now, nearly dragging Marcus across the parking lot. The van's interior was dim despite the open doors. Marcus's eyes adjusted slowly. 6 children sat on bench seats, exactly as they'd appeared in the videos. Their hands were zip-tied. Their faces were blank with shock and exhaustion. And there, in the back row, was the girl from the photograph. She looked smaller in person, more fragile. Her dark hair hung in tangles around her face. Her pink dress was stained and wrinkled, but her eyes, those same terrified eyes from the photo, were open and aware. Atlas lunged forward before Marcus could stop him. The dog jumped into the van, scrambling over the middle bench. He went straight to the girl. Marcus's heart stopped. "Atlas, down!" But the dog ignored him. Atlas reached the girl and stopped, his nose inches from her face. The girl stared at him. Then, slowly, she raised her zip-tied hands and touched Atlas's face. "You came back," she whispered. Marcus froze. The words hung in the air like something physical. Agent Cortez turned sharply. "What did she say?" The girl's fingers traced the fur along Atlas's neck. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. "You came back. You came back for me." Atlas whined softly. He pressed his head against her chest. The girl wrapped her bound hands around him and held on like he was the only solid thing in the universe. Marcus climbed into the van slowly. He knelt beside the girl. "Hey, sweetheart, my name's Marcus. This is Atlas. You're safe now." The girl looked up at him. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "His name isn't Atlas." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "What?" "His name is Max." The girl looked back at the dog. "He saved me before, a long time ago." Marcus's world tilted. He looked at Atlas. The dog met his gaze, and in that moment, Marcus saw it. Recognition. Memory. Truth. Agent Cortez appeared at the van's door. She had her phone out, showing Marcus a file. "I ran your dog's description through federal canine databases. Got a hit." Marcus took the phone with numb fingers. The screen showed a photograph from 3 years ago. A female German shepherd standing beside a handler in tactical gear. The dog wore a vest with a name patch, canine Rhea. And beside Rhea, barely visible in the background, was a puppy. Young, maybe 6 months old. His markings were unmistakable. Rhea was killed in a trafficking bust in Albuquerque, Agent Cortez said quietly. 3 years ago. Her handler died in the same operation. The puppy disappeared, presumed dead or taken. Marcus couldn't breathe. He looked at Atlas, at Max. The dog watched him with ancient eyes. There was a raid, the girl said. Her voice was small but clear. Bad men had us in a house. Police came. There was shooting. This dog, she hugged Atlas tighter. His mama got hurt, but he helped me run. I got away for a little while. What happened? Marcus asked gently. They found me again, 2 weeks later. The girl's voice cracked. I kept hoping the dog would come back. I drew pictures of him. Everywhere they took me, I drew pictures. Marcus pulled out his phone. He found the photo he'd taken at the warehouse, the drawing of the German Shepherd with the star collar. He showed it to the girl. Like this? She nodded. That's him. That's Max. Marcus sat back on his heels. The pieces were falling into place, impossible pieces that shouldn't fit but did. Atlas hadn't been a random shelter dog. He was Max, Rhea's puppy, the same puppy who'd escaped the Albuquerque raid 3 years ago. The same puppy who'd spent 3 years hunting, searching, following the network that had taken this girl. And somehow, impossibly, Sarah had known. She'd found him at the shelter and brought him home. She'd given him to Marcus. She'd known he still had work to finish. Agent Cortez cut the zip ties from the children's hands. Paramedics arrived, checking vitals and offering water. The other 5 children remained silent, watching everything with wary eyes. But the girl wouldn't let go of Atlas. What's your name, sweetheart? Agent Cortez asked gently. Sophia, the girl whispered. Sophia Reyes. Agent Cortez typed the name into her tablet. After a moment, her expression changed. Sophia Reyes, reported missing from Tucson 8 months ago. Last seen leaving school. Sophia nodded against Atlas's fur. They took me from the playground. We're going to take you home, Agent Cortez said. Your family's been looking for you. Sophia finally looked up. She studied Agent Cortez's face, searching for lies. When she found none, something cracked in her expression. She started to sob, deep, wrenching sounds that came from a place beyond words. Atlas didn't move. He stood perfectly still, letting her hold him. His eyes found Marcus, and Marcus understood. This was why Sarah had brought Atlas home. This was the purpose that had kept the dog alive for 3 years. Not random chance, not coincidence. Destiny. The paramedics worked quickly, checking each child for injuries and dehydration. Sophia refused to be separated from Atlas. When they tried to lift her onto a gurney, she screamed and clutched the dog tighter. Marcus intervened, promising she could keep Atlas close. Only then did she allow herself to be examined. Agent Cortez pulled Marcus aside while the medical team worked. The 2 suspects in custody are talking. Small fish, hired to drive. But they confirmed this van was scheduled to cross into Juarez tonight. After that, the children disappear. We got here just in time, Marcus said. Because of your dog. Agent Cortez looked at Atlas, who sat pressed against Sophia's gurney. That's not normal canine behavior, Webb. That's personal. I'm starting to understand that. Agent Cortez's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her expression darkened. She ended the call and turned back to Marcus. We've got a problem. The network knows we intercepted the van. They're scrambling, burning safe houses, moving assets, and they know which officer made the initial bust. They know about me. They know your name, your unit number, and your home address. Agent Cortez met his eyes. You're a liability now. They'll want to eliminate you before you can testify. Marcus felt ice settle in his stomach. How long do I have? Unknown. Could be days, could be hours. We're arranging protective custody. No. Marcus shook his head. I'm not hiding while they're still operating. You don't have a choice, Webb. This isn't about pride. These people have killed federal agents. They won't hesitate. Marcus looked at Atlas. The dog's ears had rotated toward them, tracking the conversation. He knew something was wrong. Animals always knew. What about the kids? Marcus asked. Safe houses until we can reunite them with families. Sophia's aunt in Phoenix has been notified. She'll be here tomorrow. And until then, Children's Hospital in El Paso. 24-hour security. Agent Cortez put her hand on Marcus's shoulder. You did good work today. Let us handle the rest. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't finished. The network was still out there. The people who'd taken Sophia and 5 other children were regrouping, planning their next move. And if they saw Marcus as a threat, they'd come for him. Let them, he thought. Let them try. The children were loaded into ambulances. Sophia reached for Atlas one last time before the doors closed. The dog whined, pulling against Marcus's grip. It's okay, boy. We'll see her again. The convoy reformed for the drive back to Phoenix. But as they pulled onto the highway, Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then instinct made him press accept. Officer Webb, a voice said. Male, calm, with an accent Marcus couldn't place. You've caused considerable disruption to our operations. Marcus's hand tightened on the wheel. Who is this? Someone who would like to offer you a choice. Turn around now. Drive away. Forget what you found. Or we'll make sure you regret your dedication to duty. Marcus's pulse hammered in his ears. I'm a police officer. Threatening me is a felony. The voice laughed softly. Threatening you is a formality. We already know where you live, Officer Webb. We know you're alone. We know your wife died 18 months ago. We know you have nothing left except that dog. Marcus felt rage bloom in his chest. If you touch Atlas, the voice cut him off. We won't touch your dog. We'll make you watch while we hurt him. Then we'll finish you, unless you turn around right now. The line went dead. Marcus's hand shook on the steering wheel. Atlas sensed his distress immediately. The dog stood on the passenger seat, pressing his nose against Marcus's arm. Agent Cortez's voice crackled over the radio. All units, be advised. We've intercepted communications suggesting immediate retaliation against law enforcement personnel. Maintain alert status. Marcus keyed his radio. This is Webb. I just received a direct threat. They know my location. Copy that. Stay in formation. We'll have units at your residence within 20 minutes. But 20 minutes felt like eternity. Marcus watched his mirrors obsessively. Every vehicle behind them became a potential threat. Every car that changed lanes triggered his alarm. Atlas remained standing, his body tense. The dog's eyes tracked passing vehicles with the same intensity Marcus felt. They drove in silence for 30 minutes. The sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting. The desert in shades of orange and red, beautiful and indifferent to human struggle. Marcus's phone rang again. Different number. He answered on speaker. Officer Webb, this is Sergeant Paula Ramirez, Phoenix PD. We're at your residence now. Front door's been forced. Someone's been inside. Marcus's stomach dropped. How bad? They trashed the place, broke furniture, spray-painted threats on the walls. But there's something else. They left photographs. Photographs of what? Of you. At the precinct, at the grocery store, at your wife's grave. They've been following you for days, maybe weeks. Marcus felt violated in a way that went beyond physical threat. They'd watched him grieve. They'd documented his life, cataloged his routines, prepared to strike when it suited them. We're sweeping for devices now, Sergeant Ramirez continued. But you can't come home, Webb. Not until we've secured the threat. Understood. Marcus ended the call. Agent Cortez's voice came over the radio immediately. Webb, new plan. You're coming to the federal building in Phoenix. We'll set you up in secure quarters until this blows over. How long? However long it takes. Marcus looked at Atlas. The dog met his gaze with unwavering focus. They'd been threatened before. Sarah's illness had been a threat, slow and inevitable. They'd survived that. They could survive this, but something felt wrong. The threats were too overt, too theatrical. Criminal organizations didn't announce their intentions. They acted with precision and silence. This felt like distraction. Agent Cortez, Marcus said into his radio. The threats against me, they're too loud. What do you mean? They want us focused on protecting me, which means they're planning something else. Static silence. Then Agent Cortez responded. What are you thinking? The children. They know we recovered them. They know where they're being held. What if the threats against me are cover for an attempt to recapture them? More silence. Marcus could almost hear Agent Cortez running through the logic. "Son of a bitch," she said finally. "You might be right. All units reroute to El Paso Children's Hospital, Code 3. The convoy accelerated, lights and sirens activating. They'd been 45 minutes from Phoenix. Now they turned around, racing back toward El Paso, back toward the hospital, where 6 children slept under what they'd assumed was adequate protection. Marcus pushed his patrol car to its limit. The engine roared. Atlas braced against the dashboard, perfectly balanced despite their speed. Agent Cortez's voice cut through the siren's wail. "Hospital security reports suspicious activity. 2 vehicles in the parking structure. No clear ID on occupants." Marcus's blood ran cold. "How long until we arrive?" 15 minutes. That was too long. Far too long. Marcus imagined Sophia in her hospital room, finally safe, finally beginning to believe rescue was real. Imagined armed men entering through windows or service corridors. Imagined her terror returning. Worse than before, because hope had been offered and then snatched away. Atlas barked, sharp and urgent, the dog's attention fixed on something ahead. Marcus followed his gaze. A semi-truck blocked both lanes of the highway, jackknifed across the road. Traffic backed up behind it, red brake lights glowing in the dusk. "It's a roadblock," Marcus said into his radio. "They're delaying us." Agent Cortez cursed. "All units, emergency shoulder, go around." But the shoulder was narrow and rough, not designed for high-speed pursuit. Marcus jerked the wheel, his patrol car bucking over uneven ground. Dust billowed behind them. They passed the backed-up traffic, horns blaring at their recklessness. Beyond the semi-truck, the highway was clear. They accelerated back onto pavement. 12 minutes to the hospital. 12 minutes to prevent another nightmare. Atlas's barking grew more frantic. The dog clawed at the door, desperate to move faster than physics allowed. "I know, buddy," Marcus said through gritted teeth. "I know." His phone rang. Hospital security. "Officer Webb, we have intruders on the 4th floor. 3 armed males. They've disabled cameras and cut phone lines. We've initiated lockdown, but they're moving toward the pediatric wing. Where are the children?" "Room 412. We've got 2 officers stationed outside, but they need backup now. We're 9 minutes out." That might not be enough. Marcus ended the call. His foot pressed the accelerator to the floor. The speedometer climbed past 100. The desert blurred past his windows. Atlas's barking filled the car, primal and desperate. And Marcus realized something that made his chest tighten with certainty. This wasn't about the children. Not really. This was about Sophia. About the girl who'd escaped once before. The girl who could identify faces, locations, procedures. The girl who knew too much. They weren't coming to recapture all 6 children. They were coming to silence one. The hospital. Hospital appeared on the horizon, white buildings against darkening sky. Marcus took the exit without slowing. His tires screamed. The patrol car slid sideways before he regained control. The parking structure loomed ahead. Agent Cortez's voice crackled. "All units converge on the 4th floor. Rules of engagement authorized." Marcus abandoned his car in the ambulance bay. He released Atlas, and they ran together toward the entrance. The dog pulled ahead. Faster than Marcus could match. They burst through the automatic doors and hit the stairs at full speed. 4th floor, room 412. 2 officers down outside the door, injured but alive. Gunshots echoing from inside, and Sophia's scream cutting through it all. Marcus didn't think. He kicked the door open and Atlas exploded through the gap before the wood stopped swinging. The room was chaos. 3 armed men in dark clothing surrounded the hospital bed where Sophia pressed herself against the wall. One held a pistol aimed at her. The other 2 spun toward the door when it burst open. Atlas launched himself at the nearest man. 80 pounds of trained fury colliding with human flesh. The man went down hard, his weapon skittering across the tile floor. Atlas's jaws clamped onto his forearm. The man screamed. Marcus drew his service weapon. "Phoenix PD, drop your weapons." The second man swung his rifle toward Marcus. Atlas released the first attacker and pivoted with impossible speed. He hit the second man's legs, teeth tangling through fabric and flesh. The rifle fired wild, bullets punching holes in the ceiling. Plaster rained down. The third man, the one closest to Sophia, made his choice. He grabbed the girl by her hair and yanked her off the bed. She screamed. He pressed his pistol against her temple, Call Oz the dog or I kill her right now. Marcus froze. His weapon remained trained on the man, but he couldn't risk the shot. Not with Sophia that close. Not with a gun to her head. Atlas, down. The dog released the second man and backed away. But he didn't stand down. His body remained coiled, ready. Blood dripped from his muzzle. His eyes locked onto the man holding Sophia with predatory focus. Smart, the man said. Now drop your weapon or I paint these walls with her brain. Marcus's mind raced. The man was professional. Ex-military maybe. His stance was correct, his grip confident. He wouldn't hesitate. And Marcus was out of position for a clean shot. Sophia's eyes found Marcus. Terror written across her face. But beneath it, something else. Recognition. Trust. She trusted once before, when Max had helped her escape. She was trusting again now. The man backed toward the window, dragging Sophia with him. Keep that animal away from me. Marcus lowered his weapon slightly. Okay, just don't hurt her. Too late for that. The man's finger tightened on the trigger. She's already dead, just doesn't know it yet. That's when Sophia moved. She went completely limp, dropping her full weight. The sudden shift pulled the man off balance. His pistol moved away from her head for just a fraction of a second. Atlas didn't need more. He launched forward, closing the distance in 2 bounds. The man fired. The shot went wide, missing Sophia by inches. Then Atlas hit him like a missile. The impact drove the man backward into the window. Glass shattered. The man teetered on the edge, 4 stories above concrete. Atlas's jaws locked onto his gun arm. The pistol fell, tumbling down to the parking lot below. Marcus rushed forward. He grabbed Sophia and pulled her away from the broken window. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on with desperate strength. The man on the window ledge kicked at Atlas. His boot connected with the dog's ribs. Atlas yelped, but didn't release. The man kicked again. This time, Atlas lost his grip. The man started to pull himself back through the window. Marcus had seconds to decide. He couldn't reach his weapon with Sophia clinging to him. The other 2 attackers were down, but not unconscious. They were starting to recover. Atlas made the decision for him. The dog lunged again, hitting the man at chest height. They went through the window together. Marcus heard Sophia scream, heard his own voice shouting Atlas's name. He ran to the window and looked down. The man lay sprawled on the pavement, not moving. Atlas had landed on the landscaping beside the sidewalk. The dog rolled to his feet slowly, clearly dazed but alive. Agent Cortez burst through the door, with 4 federal agents behind her. They swarmed the 2 injured attackers, cuffing them efficiently. One agent checked Marcus and Sophia for injuries. "I'm fine," Marcus said, "but I need to get to my dog." He handed Sophia to Agent Cortez and ran for the stairs. 4 flights down felt like 40. His legs burned, his lungs screamed, but he kept moving. He burst out of the building into the parking lot. Atlas sat in the mulch bed, panting hard. Blood matted his fur. Marcus couldn't tell if it was the dogs or from the men he'd attacked. Probably both. Marcus dropped to his knees beside him. "Easy, boy, let me see." He ran his hands over Atlas's body, checking for serious injuries. The dog whined when Marcus touched his left ribs. Probably bruised, maybe cracked, but his legs worked. His breathing was labored, but steady. His eyes tracked Marcus with full awareness. "You crazy animal," Marcus whispered. "You could have died." Atlas leaned forward and pressed his forehead against Marcus's chest. The simple gesture broke something inside Marcus. He wrapped his arms around the dog and held him. Paramedics arrived with a stretcher for the man who'd fallen. He was alive but unconscious, severe injuries. He wouldn't be running anywhere for a long time. They loaded him into an ambulance. A veterinary emergency van pulled up moments later. Agent Cortez had called ahead. 2 vet techs approached with a stretcher designed for large dogs. Marcus helped them lift Atlas onto it. The dog didn't resist. He was exhausted. "He's going to be okay," one of the techs said after a quick examination. "Bruised ribs, some lacerations, nothing life-threatening. But we should take him in for x-rays." "I'm coming with you," Marcus said. "Sir, you need to stay for statements." Agent Cortez appeared at his shoulder. "I'll handle the statements. Webb, go with your dog." "You've earned it." Marcus climbed into the back of the vet van. Atlas lay on the stretcher between them, his breathing gradually slowing to normal. Marcus kept one hand on the dog's head, stroking the soft fur between his ears. The emergency veterinary clinic was 10 minutes away. They worked quickly, taking x-rays and cleaning wounds. 2 cracked ribs, multiple lacerations, severe bruising. They wrapped his torso and gave him pain medication. The vet said he'd need rest and limited activity for 6 weeks. He'll heal, the vet said. Dogs are remarkably resilient, but he shouldn't have survived that fall. He's lucky. Marcus looked at Atlas. The dog's eyes were heavy with medication but still aware, still watching Marcus with that ancient intelligence. He's not lucky, Marcus said quietly. He's determined. By the time they returned to the hospital, it was past midnight. The scene had been secured. All 3 attackers were in custody. The 2 injured officers were stable, and the 6 children had been moved to a secure location under federal protection. Agent Cortez met Marcus in the hallway. She looked exhausted but satisfied. We've arrested 14 people in the past 4 hours. The network is collapsing. They're turning on each other, trying to cut deals. This is the beginning of the end for them. And Sophia? Agent Cortez smiled. She's asking for you, and for Atlas. They went to the secure room where Sophia waited with a victim advocate. The girl sat on a bed, freshly showered and wearing new clothes. When she saw Marcus and Atlas, her face transformed. She slid off the bed and ran to them. Atlas sat despite his injuries, allowing Sophia to wrap her arms around his neck. She buried her face in his fur. "You saved me again," she whispered. "Just like before." Marcus knelt beside them. "You were very brave, Sophia. What you did back there, dropping like that. That was smart." Sophia looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. "My mama taught me, before they took me. She said if someone grabs you, make your cells heavy. Make it hard for them. Your mama was right. Is she coming?" Sophia's voice cracked. "My mama?" Agent Cortez knelt on Sophia's other side. "Your mama died, sweetheart, 2 years ago. I'm sorry, but your aunt is coming. Your mama's sister. She's been looking for you since the day you disappeared." Sophia nodded slowly. She'd probably suspected. Children who'd been through what she had learned not to hope too hard. But tears slid down her cheeks anyway. "Can Max stay with me until she gets here?" Sophia asked. Marcus looked at Agent Cortez. She nodded. "Atlas can stay." They sat together on the floor for the next hour. Sophia between Marcus and Atlas, holding on to both of them like anchors. She talked sometimes, sharing fragments of memory. The house where they'd kept her. The other children who'd come and gone. The drawings she'd made hoping someone would understand. "I drew Max everywhere," she said. "In every place they took me. I thought maybe if I drew him enough, he'd know where to find me." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "He found you. I don't know how, but he did." Sophia looked at Atlas. The dog's eyes were half closed with exhaustion and medication. But his tail thumped weakly when she petted him. "He didn't forget me." "No," Marcus said, "he never forgot you." Dawn was breaking when Sophia's aunt arrived. A woman in her early 40s, with Sophia's same dark hair and brown eyes. She'd driven through the night from Phoenix. When she saw Sophia, she collapsed to her knees and sobbed. Sophia ran to her. "Tia Rosa." They held each other and cried. Marcus and Atlas stood back, giving them space. Agent Cortez handled the paperwork and explanations. Marcus watched the reunion with an ache in his chest that was somehow both painful and healing. Rosa looked up at him eventually. "You found her. You brought her back." Marcus shook his head. "My dog found her. I just followed." Rosa stood and approached Atlas. The dog regarded her calmly. She reached out slowly and touched his head. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for bringing her home." Atlas's tail wagged once. Gentle and deliberate, Sophia came over and hugged Marcus. Then she hugged Atlas again, careful of his bandaged ribs. "I love you, Max," she said into his fur. "I'll never forget you." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. He blinked them back. "You can visit him any time, I promise." Sophia nodded. She returned to her aunt's side. They left together, escorted by federal agents who would keep them safe until the threat was completely neutralized. The room felt empty after they were gone. Marcus sat on the floor beside Atlas. The dog lay down carefully, his breathing slow and even. Marcus put his hand on Atlas's side, feeling his heartbeat. "You did it," Marcus said quietly. "You finished what you started 3 years ago." Atlas sighed deeply. His eyes closed. Within moments, he was asleep. Marcus stayed beside him, watching dawn light spread across the walls. Outside, the city woke to a new day. Somewhere, 6 children were safe. Somewhere, Sophia was beginning to heal. And Marcus sat with the dog his wife had given him, understanding finally why Sarah had smiled when she'd brought Atlas home. She'd known. Somehow, she'd known this dog still had a mission, and that mission would save Marcus too. 3 days later, Marcus sat in Captain Diaz's office, with Atlas resting at his feet. The dog's ribs were healing well. He moved more easily now, though Marcus still kept him unrestricted activity. Agent Cortez sat across from them, a tablet computer in her hands. "We've pieced together the full story," Agent Cortez began, "and it's remarkable." She turned the tablet so Marcus could see the screen. It showed a file photo from 3 years ago. A German shepherd standing beside a female handler in tactical gear. The dog wore a vest with her name emblazoned across it. "Canine Rhea. Your dog's mother," Agent Cortez said. "She was one of the best narcotics and trafficking detection dogs in the Southwest." Her handler was Officer Kelly Morrison, Albuquerque PD. Marcus studied the photo. Rhea looked powerful and confident, professional in every line of her body. But it was the puppy barely visible behind her that caught his attention. Young, maybe 4 months old, his markings were unmistakable. "That's Atlas," Marcus said quietly. "That's Max," Agent Cortez corrected. Rhea had a litter 6 months before the raid. Department policy was to rehome the puppies, but Morrison kept one. She was training him personally. What happened? Agent Cortez swiped to the next screen. A news article. "Officer killed in trafficking raid." The date was 3 years, 2 months ago. Morrison and Rhea responded to a tip about a trafficking operation in Albuquerque, a house in the South Valley. They went in with a tactical team. Someone tipped off the traffickers. It became a firefight. Agent Cortez's voice remained professional, but Marcus heard the weight beneath her words. Morrison was killed in the first 30 seconds. Rhea was shot multiple times, but she kept fighting. She took down 2 armed suspects and created an opening for the children inside to escape. "How many children?" Marcus asked. 7. Sophia was one of them. Marcus felt something click into place. That's why she recognized Atlas. She saw him during the raid. More than that, Agent Cortez pulled up a video file. Security footage from a neighboring house. "Watch this." The video showed a chaotic scene. Officers taking cover behind vehicles. Gunfire strobing in the darkness. Then a German shepherd, clearly injured, limping toward a side door of the house. Behind her, a small puppy followed. "Max stayed with his mother," Agent Cortez said. "Even during the firefight, he didn't run." The video showed Rhea reaching the door. She barked. The door opened from inside and children streamed out. 7 of them, ranging from ages 4 to 9. Sophia was third in line, her hair in braids just like in the photograph. Rhea shepherded them away from the house. She moved between them and the gunfire. Then one of the children, the smallest, tripped and fell. Max, the puppy, stopped. He stood over the fallen child, barking. That's when Rhea was hit for the final time. She went down hard, but she didn't die immediately. The video showed her crawling back toward Max and the fallen child. She pushed them both with her nose, forcing them to move. "She saved them with her last breath," Marcus said. Agent Cortez nodded. All 7 children escaped that night, but in the chaos, they were recaptured over the following weeks. The network was bigger than we realized. They had resources to hunt the children down. And Max? He disappeared. Some witnesses reported seeing a puppy running from the scene. Others said he died with his mother. No one knew for sure. Marcus looked down at Atlas. The dog watched him with calm eyes. So he survived. And then what? Agent Cortez pulled up more files. This is where it gets harder to track. We found reports of a stray German shepherd in Albuquerque over the next 6 months. Animal control tried to catch him multiple times. Never succeeded. Then the sightings stopped. Where did he go? We think he followed the trafficking network. Agent Cortez showed a map with red dots scattered across New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. These are locations where trafficking operations were disrupted or abandoned over the next 2 years. No police involvement. No obvious cause. The traffickers just packed up and left. Why? We interviewed some of the arrested suspects. Several mentioned a dog, a German shepherd that appeared at their safe houses. He'd show up in the middle of the night, barking, drawing attention. Neighbors would call police. The traffickers would flee before officers arrived. Marcus felt chills run down his spine. He was hunting them. For 2.5 years. Alone. following the network that killed his mother and took those children. Captain Diaz leaned forward. How did he end up at that shelter in Phoenix? Agent Cortez shrugged. Best we can figure, he was hit by a car on Interstate 40. Good Samaritan picked him up and dropped him at the nearest shelter. He had no collar, no chip. They listed him as a stray. And Sarah found him, Marcus said. Agent Cortez pulled up another file. This one showed Sarah's service record. Your wife was a canine officer before she got sick. She worked trafficking cases out of Phoenix for 5 years. Marcus's breath caught. I knew she worked canine, but she never talked about her cases. She was good at her job, really good. Agent Cortez met his eyes. Marcus, your wife knew Officer Morrison. They worked together on a joint task force 4 years ago. They were friends. The pieces were falling into place faster than Marcus could process. Sarah knew Morrison. She knew about Rhea. She would have known about the raid, about the puppy that disappeared. When did Sarah find Atlas at the shelter? Agent Cortez asked. 18 months ago. About a month before she died. Agent Cortez pulled up the shelter's intake records. Max was brought in 19 months ago. He sat in that shelter for 3 weeks. Dozens of families looked at him. No one adopted him. Why not? The shelter staff said he was too intense, too focused. He'd ignore potential adopters and spend all his time staring at the door, like he was waiting for someone specific. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He was waiting for Sarah. I think so, Agent Cortez said gently. I think somehow he knew she'd come, or maybe she knew he was there. Either way, she found him 3 weeks after he arrived. Captain Diaz cleared her throat. According to the shelter records, Sarah spent 2 hours with the dog before adopting him. The staff said they'd never seen anything like it. The dog, who ignored everyone else, immediately responded to her. Marcus remembered the day Sarah brought Atlas home. She'd been so weak by then. The cancer had stolen most of her strength, but she'd smiled when she showed him the dog. This is Atlas, she'd said. He's going to help us. At the time, Marcus thought she meant emotional support, a companion for her final weeks. But now he understood. Sarah had known exactly who this dog was. She'd known about his mother, about his mission, and she'd known that mission wasn't finished. Your wife didn't have much time left, Agent Cortez said quietly, but she made sure Max had someone to take care of him, someone who'd let him finish what he started. Marcus looked down at Atlas. The dog gazed back with those ancient, knowing eyes. All the strange behaviors over the past 18 months suddenly made sense. The way Atlas reacted to news reports about trafficking. The way he'd patrol their neighborhood at night, like he was searching for something. The way he'd responded to Sophia's photograph with absolute certainty. He never stopped hunting, Marcus said. Even living with me, he was still searching. Until he found her, Agent Cortez confirmed. Sophia was the last of the 7 children from that raid. The others have all been recovered or are confirmed deceased. But Sophia survived, and Max never gave up looking for her. Captain Diaz pulled out a formal-looking document. The DEA wants to reinstate him, give him full canine status, and bring him into their trafficking division. With his instincts and experience, he could save dozens more children. Marcus felt his chest constrict. No, Webb, think about what he could. No, Marcus repeated firmly. He's done enough. He spent 3 years alone, hunting the people who killed his mother. He's earned his rest. Agent Cortez studied him carefully. You're sure? This dog is extraordinary. He could do tremendous good. He's already done tremendous good. Marcus reached down and put his hand on Atlas's head. And I'm not sending him back into that world. He's home now. The room fell silent. Captain Diaz and Agent Cortez exchanged glances. Finally, Captain Diaz nodded. Understood. Take good care of him, Webb. I will. Agent Cortez stood. She pulled a small box from her bag and handed it to Marcus. This belonged to Officer Morrison. Her family wanted Max to have it. Marcus opened the box. Inside was a canine badge. Engraved on the back were 2 names, Rhea and Max. Partners. Morrison had this made a week before she died, Agent Cortez said. She always planned for Max to be her next partner. She never got the chance. Marcus's vision blurred. He blinked hard. Thank you. There's something else. Agent Cortez pulled up a final photo on her tablet. It showed Sarah in her canine uniform, younger and healthy, standing beside Officer Morrison. Both women smiled at the camera. Both held German Shepherd puppies. The caption read, "Future Canine Partners, Phoenix Albuquerque Task Force." Sarah was there when Rhea had her litter, Agent Cortez said softly. She met Max when he was 2 weeks old. Morrison sent her updates about his training. They talked about working together again someday, after Sarah's medical leave. But Sarah got sicker, Marcus said. Yes, and Morrison died, and Max disappeared. But I think Sarah always hoped he'd survived. When she saw him at that shelter, she must have known immediately. She gave him to me, Marcus said. She knew I'd need him, and he'd need you. Agent Cortez closed her tablet. You saved each other, Marcus. That's what partners do. After they left, Marcus sat alone with Atlas in the empty office. He pulled out his phone and found the last photo he had of Sarah. She sat in her wheelchair in their backyard, Atlas beside her. Her hand rested on his head. She looked weak but peaceful. And Atlas looked exactly as he did now. Calm, focused, certain of his purpose. You knew, Marcus whispered to the photo. You knew everything. Atlas pushed his nose against Marcus's hand. The simple gesture anchored him. Marcus scratched behind the dog's ears. We're partners now, he said. No more hunting. No more missions. Just us. Deal? Atlas's tail thumped twice against the floor. Deal. 6 weeks later, Marcus stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his dress uniform. The Phoenix Police Department ceremony was scheduled to begin in an hour. Atlas sat beside him, wearing a new vest with patches that read Canine Hero and Phoenix PD. The dog's ribs had healed completely. He moved with his old confidence, though Marcus noticed he stayed closer now. Less independent, more content to simply be present. Ready, boy? Atlas's tail wagged. Marcus clipped on the ceremonial leash and they headed to the car. The drive to headquarters took 20 minutes. The parking lot was already packed. News vans lined the street. Reporters clustered near the entrance with cameras and microphones. Marcus had avoided media attention as much as possible over the past weeks. But this ceremony was unavoidable. The story had gone viral. Police dog reunites with girl he saved 3 years ago. The footage from the hospital, captured on security cameras, had been viewed over 100 million times. Atlas jumping through the window to save Sophia. The dramatic fall. The reunion afterward. The world had fallen in love with the story. With Atlas. With the idea that heroes came in unexpected forms. Inside the main hall had been transformed. Rows of chairs faced a stage decorated with Phoenix PD banners. Officers in dress uniform filled the front sections. Behind them, civilians packed every available seat. Marcus spotted Sophia and her Aunt Rosa in the third row. Sophia wore a yellow dress and held a drawing in her lap. Marcus made his way to the reserved seating near the stage. Other officers nodded greetings. Some reached down to pet Atlas. The dog accepted the attention with patient dignity. Captain Diaz took the podium as the ceremony began. She spoke about duty and sacrifice. About the trafficking network that had been dismantled. 14 arrests in 4 states. Over 30 children recovered. The largest bust in southwestern regional history. Then she called Marcus and Atlas to the stage. The crowd applauded as they climbed the steps. Atlas walked beside Marcus with perfect heel position, his head high. Officer Marcus Webb and Canine Atlas, Captain Diaz said, her voice carrying through the speakers. Your actions led to the rescue of 6 children and the exposure of a criminal organization that had operated for 7 years. Your dedication exemplifies the finest traditions of law enforcement. She pinned a medal to Marcus's uniform, the Medal of Valor. Then she knelt beside Atlas and attached an identical medal to his vest. The crowd applauded louder. Cameras flashed. Atlas sat perfectly still, accepting the recognition with calm composure. But there's more to this story, Captain Diaz continued. She gestured to Agent Cortez, who joined them on stage, carrying a framed photograph. This is K9 Rhea and Officer Kelly Morrison of the Albuquerque Police Department. Both were killed in the line of duty 3 years ago while saving 7 children from a trafficking operation. The photograph appeared on the large screens flanking the stage. Rhea in her tactical vest, strong and proud. Morrison beside her, smiling. And barely visible behind them, a puppy. That puppy was Max, Captain Diaz said, Canine Ria's son. He survived the raid that killed his mother and spent the next 3 years tracking the network that took those children. Against impossible odds, alone and untrained, he never gave up. He never forgot. The hall had gone silent. Every eye was fixed on Atlas. The dog sat motionless, staring straight ahead. Today we honor not just Atlas, but Max. Not just this dog's recent heroism, but 3 years of dedication that went unseen. Captain Diaz's voice thickened with emotion. Canine Ria gave her life to save children. Her son carried on that mission until every last one of those children was found. That is loyalty beyond measure. That is heroism in its purest form. The applause was thunderous now. People stood. Some were crying. Marcus felt his own eyes burning. He looked down at Atlas. The dog glanced up at him, and in that moment, Marcus saw everything. The pain of loss, the weight of mission, the quiet satisfaction of purpose fulfilled. There's someone here who'd like to say a few words, Captain Diaz said. Sophia Reyes, would you come up, please? Sophia walked to the stage holding her aunt's hand. She clutched her drawing tightly. When she reached the microphone, her aunt lifted her so she could speak into it. Hi, Sophia said, her small voice amplified through the hall. Her nervousness was visible, but she pushed through it. My name is Sophia. I was lost for a long time. Bad people took me, and I was really scared. The hall remained perfectly silent. Every adult present felt the weight of what this child had endured. But Max never forgot me, Sophia continued. She looked at Atlas. Even when I forgot myself sometimes, even when I thought nobody was looking for me, he was. For 3 whole years. And then he found me. Her voice cracked. Rosa put a steadying hand on her back. He's a hero, Sophia said, but he's also my friend. She held up her drawing. It showed a German shepherd with a star on his collar, standing beside a small girl. They were holding hands, or paw, in her child's rendering. Both were smiling. Above them she'd written in careful letters, Max never forgets. Sophia walked over to Atlas. The dog remained sitting, but his tail wagged slowly. Sophia wrapped her arms around his neck. Thank you for remembering me, she whispered, but the microphone caught it anyway. Thank you for not giving up. The applause shook the building. Marcus had to blink rapidly to clear his vision. He looked out at the crowd and saw hardened officers wiping their eyes, saw reporters abandoning professional distance to simply witness this moment of pure connection. After the ceremony, a reception filled the headquarters cafeteria. People wanted to meet Atlas, to hear the story firsthand, to take photos. Marcus allowed it for Sophia's sake. The girls stayed close to Atlas, one hand always touching his vest. A man in his 50s approached, wearing a suit that marked him as someone official. He introduced himself as Robert Morrison, Kelly's father. He knelt beside Atlas with tears streaming down his face. My daughter loved Ria more than anything, he said. She talked about Max constantly. About how smart he was, how much potential. She wanted to train in herself. Marcus put his hand on the man's shoulder. She'd be proud of him. Robert nodded. He pulled an old leather collar from his pocket. This was Ria's collar. From before she went into service. Kelly kept it. I'd like Max to have it. Marcus took the collar carefully. The leather was worn soft with age. A brass tag hung from it, engraved with Ria's name and badge number. He knelt and showed it to Atlas. The dog sniffed it carefully, and for just a moment, something passed across his face. Recognition, memory, loss. Thank you, Marcus said to Robert. We'll treasure this. The afternoon stretched into evening. Sophia and Rosa stayed until the end. Before they left, Sophia handed Marcus her drawing. For Max's house, she said, so he always remembers. He could never forget you, Marcus said. Trust me. Rosa squeezed Marcus's hand. Thank you, for everything. You gave us our family back. Marcus shook his head. That was all, Atlas. Then thank you for being his partner. Rosa smiled. Everyone needs someone who believes in them. After they left, Marcus and Atlas walked to the parking lot. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Marcus's phone. Nee had been buzzing all day with messages, job offers from canine units across the country, media requests for interviews, people wanting to adopt dogs just like Atlas. He ignored all of it. He drove home in comfortable silence, Atlas riding in the passenger seat with his head out the window, ears flapping in the wind. Home looked different now. Marcus had cleaned it thoroughly over the past weeks, had repaired the damage from the break-in, had even planted new flowers in Sarah's garden beds. The house felt less empty, more like a place where people actually lived. Inside, Marcus changed out of his dress uniform. He made dinner, simple pasta with chicken. He filled Atlas's bowl with kibble and added some of the chicken as a treat. They ate together in the kitchen, the evening light streaming through the windows. After dinner, Marcus walked to his bedroom. On the mantel above the fireplace sat two photographs now. One of Sarah in her K-9 uniform, young and healthy, the other of Officer Morrison and Rhea, partners in duty. Between them, Marcus placed the medal Atlas had received today. He added Sophia's drawing to the display, propping it against the photos. Max with his star collar, standing beside the little girl he'd never forgotten. Atlas appeared at his side. The dog studied the shrine Marcus had created. His tail wagged slowly, a gesture of acknowledgement. "They're proud of you," Marcus said. "All of them. Your mom, Morrison, Sarah. They're all proud." Atlas leaned against Marcus's leg. The weight was solid and reassuring. Marcus reached down and scratched behind his ears. "We should visit Sarah's grave tomorrow. Tell her about the ceremony. Show her the medal." Atlas's tail thumped agreement. They walked out to the backyard as full darkness fell. Stars emerged in the desert sky, brilliant and countless. Marcus sat on the porch steps. Atlas lay beside him, his head resting on Marcus's knee. For 3 years, Marcus had felt hollow. Sarah's death had carved out something essential, leaving him functioning but empty, going through motions without purpose, surviving but not living. Atlas had filled that space, not by replacing what was lost, but by giving Marcus something new to protect. Someone who needed him as much as he needed them. A partner in the truest sense. "You know what Sarah told me?" Marcus said quietly. "The day she brought you home. She said you had kind eyes. She said you'd take care of me." Atlas's ears rotated toward Marcus's voice, listening. "She was right. You did take care of me. Even while you were finishing your own mission, you were keeping me alive." Marcus's voice thickened. "I don't know if you understand how much that means. How much you saved me too." Atlas shifted position. He put his paw on Marcus's arm. The gesture was deliberate, intentional. "I'm here," it said. "We're here together." Marcus covered the paw with his hand. "Tomorrow we start something new. No more hunting, no more missions, just us being partners. Taking walks, maybe training new K-9 teams, living quiet lives." Atlas's tail wagged. Agreement, contentment, peace. They sat together as the desert night deepened around them. Somewhere in the city, Sophia slept safely in her aunt's house, beginning to heal from wounds that would take years to fully close. Somewhere, 6 other children were being reunited with families, starting the long journey back to normalcy. Somewhere, the trafficking network that had operated for 7 years lay in ruins, its leaders facing justice. And here, in a small backyard in Phoenix, a man and a dog who'd both lost everything sat together in comfortable silence. 2 broken pieces that had somehow formed something whole. Marcus looked up at the stars, wondered if Sarah could see them, wondered if she knew what her final gift had accomplished. He liked to think she did, liked to imagine her smiling that knowing smile she'd worn when she brought Atlas home. "Thank you," he whispered to the night. "To Sarah, to Morrison, to Rhea, to all the people and dogs who'd sacrificed so others could live. Thank you for trusting me with him." Atlas sighed deeply, content, home. His mission complete at last. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges, Marcus thought. Sometimes they walk on 4 paws. Sometimes they spend 3 years alone, hunting in the darkness, never forgetting a promise made in a moment of chaos. Sometimes they save not just the lost, but the ones who thought they were beyond saving. Marcus stood, his hand resting on Atlas's head. "Come on, partner. Let's go to bed. Tomorrow's a new day." They walked inside together. Atlas went to his bed in the corner of Marcus's room, circling twice before settling with a groan of satisfaction. Marcus climbed into his own bed and turned off the light. In the darkness, he heard Atlas's steady breathing. The sound anchored him, as it had for 18 months, as it would for all the years to come. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.